days and posting. I am doing an interview with the one and only Gas Daddy himself, Mr. JB Blanc.
Daddy versus Daddy, here it is.
Who has given me, graciously given me his time to do an interview regarding the Caustic event dropping tomorrow. So I'm sure he's pretty excited for that, and
Death is always exciting.
Kind of walk through things and get any information maybe you guys have or wanted to know. And I hope you guys enjoy it. So first, I do want to start, JB, when did you decide to get into voice acting, or when did you decide that that's what you wanted to do in life?
It kind of decided for me. I was an actor in England. I was a theatre actor in the UK, and I was doing. I trained at a drama school called RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. It was very fancy. Mm-hmm. And then I did years of theatre in the UK, and worked had my own theatre company in London for a while, and worked at the National Theatre and theatres all around the country. And I came over to America because I did a movie called The Count of Monte Cristo. And I thought that wasn't going to do very well in Europe. I didn't have much to lose. And the director of the movie said, you should come over to LA and have a look and see what you think. So I came over. And, of course, a lot of casting directors were like, theatre. I really understand that one. Because it was a very TV and film town at the time. And a friend of mine was doing some voices for a Japanese anime called Hellsing. And they were looking for British voices. And so I went along and met them, and they said, sure, we'd love you to come and be part of the cast. So that was my first ever voiceover gig. And it just sort of happened. And then word of mouth got around through the same studio. I was doing an animated series called Gormiti. And I met Troy Baker, who just arrived from Texas. And he was like, oh, do you know this director, that director, that director? And I said, no, I don't know anyone. And he introduced me to a lot of people. And then I was just seemed to be in the right place in the right time. Laura Davis and or Laura Wallingham now, she is, Laura Bailey, Travis Wallingham, Troy, Roger Craigsmith, all those people I kind of became very close friends with. And they were all in the game mix very early on in the days. And so it just kind of started and kind of snowballed from there. At the same time I was starting my on-camera career on TV here. The game thing just kicked off, and I was suddenly doing, PCAP and mocap and working on some of the kind of leading edge technology that was available. And it was fantastic. And it kind of snowballed from there. Someone told me recently, I think I'm up to about 300 games. I'm probably about 500 characters. So
yeah, I saw your gameography. It's vast. Some games I didn't even know that you voiced, that my family has played. I had no idea. I'm like, yo, that's him. That's pretty awesome seeing all that stuff.
It's kind of a nice thing about being a voice actor as well, as you're kind of semi in disguise most of the time. It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
You can.
Yeah, when you look at it like, oh, that's him.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know that.
Hopefully you can be good at what you do and still choose your own fruit and vegetables in the supermarket.
Yeah. With that, with all the gaming and the acting and stuff like that, do you have, I guess, do you get like more satisfaction like from a role, or do you feel like maybe one means more than the other, or are they all the same? You're just happy to put your
there's some big important jobs that you get your hands on, and sometimes you're third sad bugger from the left, you're soldier B and you're civilian A, or it can be any number of things. So there are roles that you think might be important, but there are others that kind of surprise you, like Rost in Horizon Zero Dawn. I was just kind of plugging away at that role. I didn't realize how much it would emotionally affect people, and I get more contact about that probably than anything else, because people cry during the goodbye scene, and based on what happens to them. So you can't predict what's going to be a success or what's not, and you kind of get a vibe. But I came from a place where to say no to anything would have been crazy. Yeah. So I still kind of try and take everything I can. If I can't do it, I can't do it. It's changed now because I'm directing a lot more, so I have to be a bit more choosy because I'm directing on a lot of big properties. I direct on all of Blizzard's stuff. So I do Overwatch and Heroes of the Storm and World of Warcraft and Diablo and Hearthstone. So I direct all of those. I direct Fortnite, the rival game. So I direct all those for Fortnite.
I didn't see that one.
I've directed on League of Legends and Legends of Runeterra
as well. And
I play Brom in League of Legends as well, so that's a nice connection. And of course, and I'm now directing performance capture. So, you know, things get very, very busy and very crazy, and you kind of, you know, you long for them to be this busy, and then when you get there, you're kind of like, damn, I used to have a life. But I'm really, really grateful for what's been brought to me, and you know, then something like Caustic comes up, and you know that it's special because the writing is special, the character is one of the originals. You quickly see that this thing is going to snowball into something massive. I don't think any of us thought it would happen so quickly. But it took off really fast, and I think that surprised us all.
Yeah,
I think it surprised Respawn too.
With Apex, it came out at just the right time when like battle royales were kind of building. Because then, you know, after Apex and everything, Call of Duty finally dropped theirs, and so it's just the genre itself, if that's what you want to call it, is just building.
Yeah, and you know the market follows the market. You know the industry follows the market. Where there's demand, they pump that out. However, it then becomes about how you do it, and I think, you know, a lot of these battle royales didn't have deep characters or deeply written characters. They didn't have a lot of voiceover lines. There wasn't that sort of stuff going on. And so what I admire about Apex is that it's really created this backstory for all these characters, and I think they've proven that fans really want that engagement. You know, I mean, my Twitter blows up every time Caustic says anything.
I've seen it.
And it's kind of great, you know, and it's and the fan art and the community, and I think that's also made better by the team that they kind of assembled, not only on the development side but on the talent side as well. Is it sounds cheesy, but we all really genuinely like each other, and we like hanging out, and you know, we haven't been able to do much of that during the pandemic, but there have been some fairly alcoholic or alcohol infused Zoom meetings.
I'm sure you guys will have some big pizza party or something when everything calms down.
Yeah, I think we will. I think, well, you know, I think Pathfinder's looking for a new house, so I think we're all going to go and christen that whenever we get able to. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Does it feel good that people kind of love a character or the way that the character acts or what they say, just based on the ones that you do?
It's amazing. I mean, we can't predict that, like I said, and what we do in a little black box somewhere, you know. I mean, right now I'm in my office, and my studio. It's also my studio, and so I've been directing from here for the past year, and so you know, you're in this small black box. You don't really know what the effect is going to be, and then you get the response like 3 months later. If it's a short update, it's a month later. And it kind of blows your mind. You didn't realize, you know, I'm really bad at publicizing myself as well. So often it's like I think it was Elle Newlands who plays Horizon who went, have you seen this trailer they've just put out? And I remember recording it. I remember recording lots of different lines for lots of different bits, but I don't know which bit was the trailer and which bit was the, you know, you don't often get that information, and sometimes you do. But I'm working on a million different things at once, and I'm, you know, I'm still doing a lot of voiceover, but I'm still doing a lot of directing. So I don't really have much time to kind of figure that stuff out. I'm terribly bad at Twitter, and so it's when someone draws my attention to it, and I go online and I go, "Holy shit, people really like this! That's crazy!" You know, that's awesome. It's super fun, and it's nice to be surprised by that. And I think it keeps you a little more humble, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see.
He's run out of questions already, ladies and gentlemen. He's run out of questions already.
As far as like
Purple juice, breakfast of champions.
Oh, I had my strawberry, kale, and banana already.
Good man. Good man.
What do you enjoy the most about this line of work? Whether it be like, you know, I've seen you at panels at Comic-Con, or maybe I don't know if anybody recognizes you just on the street or anything.
So the way people recognize you, they hear your voice.
Your hand in all these different things outside of, you know, your space.
Well, let's just say I'm never bored, ever. ever, ever, ever. And I work at something that I adore doing, and so that doesn't mean that there are, the phrase "if you do something that you love and you'll never work another day in your life" is kind of not true. In order to do something you love, you have to work really hard, really, really hard, and there's plenty of opportunity for you to quit because you have your really bad moments. I was really gunning for that part. I've been in rooms with Steven Spielberg and lost the job, and it's crushing. There's a lot of rejection in this business. But then, you see one of those stupid emails that said, Walt Disney didn't do anything until he was 50 years old. And you kind of go, oh, well, maybe I'm still in with a shot. The great things about it are the community, particularly in voiceover. We all love each other. We all support each other. We all know how hard it is. The question sometimes I get asked is, do you do any real acting? And that makes me crazy because of all the things I do, and I've done a lot of TV, I'm about to start shooting season 3 of Barry. I've done some good shows, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and I have regular stuff in, and I think voiceover is by far and away the hardest thing of anything to do because it takes so much imagination. You don't have costumes and props and sets and stuff to work off. You're pulling it literally from your heart, and you have to frown with your voice. You have to smile with your voice. You have to act like a deadly sociopathic killer with your voice. Yeah. And so the challenges are actually greater because you have less to work with. Having said that, once you start getting, good at it and understanding scripts better and being able to interpret stuff, it becomes so much fun because you can put that curl on a line that really gets people going. You can. I mean, and Caustic, some characters like Pathfinder has a big performance bracket. Caustic's bracket is like here. He sits right here, and the only variety I've got is from here to here because he's always down there. So there's much less to play with, But that in itself is a fantastic challenge. So that's the work is really, really fun. It was just a lot of hard work getting there, and there's a reason people who do it a lot make it look easy, Well, that only took you 10 minutes to record. Yeah, no, that took me 30 years to record. Mm-hmm. It's 30 years of experience that's gone into that to be able to, go in there with Respawn and have them squealing like schoolgirls because you're hitting every note, you're hitting and they've written a gag and you see the gag and then you take it that step further. And they fall off their chairs. And so, and it's a collaborative process. And, often we'll do rewrites in the session, that sort of stuff, that sort of creativity is more fun than I can tell you. It's just great. And then, I suppose the celebrity side of it is, it's cool, but it's strange. It's weird. It's weird when you're walking in a parking lot. I mean, I was, taking my kid to karate and this entire family arrived in a Suburban and screeched to a halt and leapt out because they were fans of the Count of Monte Cristo, and it frightened me and it frightened my kid, and they ran at us. And that stuff is scary. What's amazing, as particularly in the gaming community, is I have a kid who's high functioning autistic, and the way these games reach out to so many kids with special needs, so many kids who are lonely, so many kids, particularly during the pandemic, who don't feel like they've got a future, who have been, in lockdown for all this time. Mm-hmm. We're that little window onto the world. And when you meet some of these kids at conventions, it's truly, truly humbling that you've had any kind of effect on their lives. And I get some amazing messages from people who just said, I was down in the dumps and I was, on the verge of suicide, and Apex came along and changed my life and gave me a reason to live and put me in with a community that I now feel loved in. And that's the sort of power of this stuff that you don't understand, you don't see up front. And it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing that you can have that effect on people. It's really, really cool.
People view it as you shouldn't play video games for a living, or you shouldn't do this, but it's once you have that, and especially with the age of social media now, it's easier to connect with other people that share the same interests, and it's okay, maybe I shouldn't listen to this person, but this is what's making me happy, or this is taking time away from feeling like that and stuff like that.
And listen, I was young once. I regarded my parents as horrible oppressors. I wanted to be independent and have my own train of thought, have my own things that I loved, and acting was my thing that I loved, and that was mine. It was my, and for a lot of people, that's gaming. And, you know, I have a kid who has trouble communicating, and it is, you know, I'm all for her linking up with game communities. It helps her tremendously and shows her that she belongs and she has a place in the world. And it's led on to her becoming an artist and an illustrator, which is tremendously exciting, you know. So I think the people that sort of say all video games are evil, they're an outlet. They I think they actually alleviate the pressure of society. I remember, you know, I've done a few Call of Duty games, and I remember meeting soldiers, veterans at cons, and they'd say that in between, you know, fighting off an Al Qaeda raid in Mosul, they'd go and play Call of Duty to relieve the pressure. And I was like, that's the most crazy thing I've ever heard in my life. What, you've just been involved in war. Why would you go back and then play this traumatic war game? They loved it. It was an outlet for them. And so, you know, I don't think a lot of people get to see that other side of the good side, the good effect of games. And I think only people who have kids who are kids who are, you know, lonely and troubled and finding life difficult as it is for all of us. That's incredibly rewarding. That's an amazing thing, and it's a precious thing. It's a responsibility you have to carry, you know.
Yeah, I think it offers a way out. You know, even for me, I'm 28, but it's still, you know, I just get home from work, and that's how I just want to come down and relax, and that's fine. Yeah. You know, people like to do that. It's easier, and it's free. You don't have to.
Yeah, you're not really doing yourself any damage. And, no, you don't. It's not drinking drugs, and
and that's absolutely fine too. I mean, to each his own, but it's just everybody has something different. I think gaming offers a lot of those.
Yeah, and I think
more accessibly than other things.
Yeah, and I think, you know, for a long time, gaming was kind of the bastard stepchild of the entertainment industry, and I think they're now realizing that the level of creativity and artistic endeavor just goes into the design of these games. I mean, you look at Horizon Zero Dawn, what a beautiful, beautiful game. Fortnite has its own very specific look. Apex has its own unique identity. But the creativity that's pulled out within those, as the technology has gotten better and better and better over the years, is extraordinary. And, you know, we're in a situation now where we used to be where games wanted to be movies. Now movies want to be games. And they're using a lot of game technology. Look at The Mandalorian. It was entirely shot using the Unreal Engine, which is, you know, that is now game technology informing mainstream entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, you look at games like you've done Resident Evil. You make movies. I mean, the movies didn't really have too much to do with the games, but you have like the animated series where the characters are what they were in the games and stuff. Sure. And then they have that new one coming out on Netflix, which is based around the original Resident Evil Mansion gameplay, you know, so it's stuff like that.
I'm involved in a series now, an anime series of Dota,
you
know, which is coming out very soon on Netflix, and you know, that's Netflix getting behind an anime series. I mean, that tells you something's cooking, you know, based on a game that was based on World of Warcraft 3. That's fascinating. That's interesting. That's people starting to pick up their ears and pay attention.
Understand the market, especially the gaming market, whether it be like ESPN has League of Legends.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
Every weekend or whatever it was, when everything was normal. So it's like back stuff like that. It's like a global, you know, the global sporting community, I guess, and League of Legends. They have the rights to League of Legends. You know, so stuff like that. It's expanding. I mean.
I'm not going to pretend I fully understand the esports world. That's a whole other kettle of fish. It's interesting,
just, I guess like modern technology and stuff having its hands in.
Yeah, and I think companies like Netflix have always been future thinking because they're changing the face of the television and film industry now. And during the pandemic, they were the methods by which people were able to put films out at all. And they've done very, very well. So I think, you know, they're friendlier towards that. Now, you know, the dollar talks in this country.
Yes, of course.
And what's fascinating is that the fastest growing market in gaming is the Silver Surfers. It's older generations now that are starting to get into gaming and are starting to realize, these aren't, you know, harmful, crazy, you know, things affecting our youth and destroying our youth. Absolutely not. They're actually a great tool for communication and for for dexterity and for mental acuity and all kinds of stuff that you know.
Yeah, I mean, you can have like professional athletes buying teams and getting into that. You know, they see it and they're willing to help out. You know,
anyone who competes gets it. So I'm turning the dinger off on my texting machine. God, I sounded so old then. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's that's how it's changed things. That's how. And I don't think these game companies can any longer deny that they're involved in the entertainment industry. They used to maintain they were in the technology industry, but they keep competing for the same dollars that everyone else is now.
And some of that stuff, especially with Twitch, you know, you're able to have like millions of viewers or something. You have like a 2-3 day event.
Yeah.
You have, you know, that's reaching far because anybody who has internet has access to Twitch. Not everybody has access to a movie theater or something.
No,
as movies go and stuff like that.
And before when I started directing for Riot, you know, I did a tour of the Riot building, the Riot campus down in Santa Monica, almost Santa Monica. You know, they've got a room at the center of that building, that campus, that is like mission control at the Cape Canaveral. They are watching servers all over the world. At any one time, League of Legends has been responsible for 1.3% of global web traffic.
Yeah, they have
over 100 million players online at a time.
A documentary on Netflix that came out a couple of years ago, covering all that. We started here in California, and now we're all these countries all over the world, like 50 plus or something, and it's
amazing.
You have these gaming events like in stadiums, like that are meant for sporting events. That's how many people, you know, flock to these things, and the traffic.
Well, I remember when Overwatch kicked off, you know, Jay Leno stopped doing his show in Burbank when it transferred across to Stephen Colbert or whoever it was, and or to what's his face. They rented that studio and turned it into an arena, you know, and it became an Overwatch E-League arena overnight, and it blew up, and it was packed every time. It's crazy. It took off so fast.
Its reach is far, and the money aspect of it too. You know, you have like more Good Morning shows talking about, oh, this kid just won
X million
$10 million over the weekend for playing a video game, which was, like we said earlier, was like it's frowned upon technically, you know, by your parents when you're younger and stuff. Oh, you can't be on that too much; you're gonna fry your brain out. And stuff
I've got a feeling that $10 million might change their mind.
Let's say you're 15, 16, you're making $10 million. Only people can dream of, and you made that in a weekend. Some people they can work their whole life and not make that.
Oh God, yeah.
But at the same time, it's like you're competing for a job interview. You're not the only one that's up. This isn't up for grabs just for you.
No, and I've had friends who were competitive gamers. A friend of mine was a Halo competitive gamer. By the time he was 21, 22. He had to quit. His fingers didn't move fast anymore. He was burnt out. He was gone.
You would think, like with gaming, like you can go like beyond the athlete, like, you know, 35 plus is old, I guess, considered. You know,
10 to 18-year-olds can just operate their fingers so much quicker than the 22-year-old, and to think that's just crazy. But if you've made a few bucks by the time you're 21, you can do whatever you want for the rest of your life. As long as you do something and just don't blow it.
Okay, so let's hop over to the Apex stuff. I'm sure what most people came to talk about and wanted to get your thoughts on. Now that they know you and what you're about and how you started and everything, let's get to the nasty stuff. Okay, so Apex, do you play at all? If you have time, or if you ever
I don't have time, but I've realized that I should have. I mean, I'll be terrible at it, but I sort of should. So I'll probably jump on Chris Edgley's stream and play that way, because that's the only way. My camera keeps going out of focus. I apologize, but it'll come back there.
Oh no, it's all good.
Yeah, I think that probably I'll have to take tuition from people, because I'm literally the world's shittiest gamer. I just don't have time. Occasionally, if I'm researching a project that I have to direct, that I'll play. But YouTube is available with so much resources now, so you know I can see so much. I can get so much done on that. I've watched people get killed a lot. which is interesting. I think I would literally spawn and die, 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 but I'll give
It
anything a
happens to
shot.
all of us.
Yeah, I know. And also, these people are so damn good at this thing. I was even
Yeah.
I did a thing with Manny Hergopian, one of our writers on Apex, and him and Chris would play Titanfall 2, in which I played Blisk, and that looked impossibly difficult. The way there was a whole section where he was jumping back in time and jumping forward in time to put bridges back and pathways, and I was just like, my God, man, I don't know how you keep pace.
Yeah,
it's a long way from it's a long way from Atari Pong that I used to play when I was a kid.
That's okay. I used to play Street Fighter and stuff in the diners when I was younger.
Right. Yeah. I did that. What did I do? I did what was his name? Oh God. El Fuego? No, it was something something. The Mexican character in Street Fighter 4 was me.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I think you have it right.
Yeah, somewhere.
I looked at that the other day. I think it was El Fuego.
Straight.
But that's like in the newer Street Fighter.
Well, that was new. Yeah, it was not the old school. No.
Back then, I can only choose from like Ryu and Ken and Bison and stuff like that.
Pixels fighting pixels.
Yeah. So you want to play? You just,
I'd love to play.
Obviously, with time, time.
Yeah, and I'm kind of serious about it. My day starts at about 5 a.m. Where I kind of get any house stuff I need to get done, record my auditions. I'm usually in session by 8 or 9. I have a late start today, so that's slightly got delayed. But today I'm directing Overwatch in the morning. I'm doing a tech meeting for the PCAP project during my lunch. I'm directing Overwatch all afternoon. Then I have a further meeting, and then I'm doing an interview this evening. So it's my kid barely sees me. It is a busy life, so trying to find time to game is tough. There's an occasional Sunday afternoon where I will crank up the PS4, but I like driving games.
Oh, okay.
I
think they just dropped a new Turismo or something.
Yeah, there's a new GT. Yeah. So I play Turismo a bit, and I play Formula One. I'm a huge Formula One nerd since I was a kid. So I play those things, and then I've played Call of Duty games and stuff like that, and so I'm familiar with campaigns. I tried to play Resident Evil with my kid, and we just couldn't make it past anything. We were terrible. I just got eaten by zombies in the first stage. I was like, I don't know what it's gonna take. I can't spend 4 hours just trying to get out of this room.
Speaking of Resident Evil, they do have that newer one, their new version coming out later this year.
Yeah.
So that looks exciting. Don't know if you're gonna give that one a try either, because it looks pretty difficult.
I'm sure I'm sure they're all.
It doesn't get any easier as they make them either. So.
No, that would kind of be self-defeating.
Yeah. So how were you approached for Caustic?
For Caustic, I'd already done Blisk, and I think they thought I'd done such a shitty job of doing Blisk that they thought, well, let's give him another role.
Somewhat darker.
Yeah, it was a different direction, but I think very kindly they just thought of me immediately for it, and I think I did audition. I think I laid something down, and then they called me in, and we started playing, and it just became apparent that it was the right fit. And I also really love the team, and they seem to like me, and so when you're launching on something as big as this, it's important that you get the right personalities involved as well. Particularly when this is going to be this became such a broad-reaching, far-reaching. There's a lot of publicity there. There's a lot of interviews. There's a lot of stuff that you have to do, and you want people who are in the right mind to be able to handle that and do it with grace. But also a company that's going to work well together, and I really just gelled off this team. They bounced off me. We share ideas. It's a collaborative thing, and that's a super fun way to work. And so I was very lucky. I knew Respawn. I think Manny's written on like 4 games, and I think I've been in all of them because I did the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order as well, and both Titanfalls and now Apex. And so those are relationships that you build up over time in the industry, and that's one of the joys is that getting asked to do work instead of having to walk the walk is something that you earn very hard. Not many people get to do that, and I feel truly blessed that that's because constantly auditioning is tough. It has to happen outside of my regular day, and my regular day is really, really busy. And so, I'm still doing it. I'm still involved. I'm still loving doing it. I'm booking some really nice stuff. But it's a constant juggle. Like my worst nightmare is now scheduling. I never thought that would be my problem, but it's a huge problem. It's like, when the hell am I going to do this? Which is why I'm quite hard to get hold of for interviews, because I'm just working most of the time. And if not, I'm trying to, reintroduce myself to my 16-year-old daughter. And say, hi, remember me, Dad? So I was very lucky on this one. They were up for it, and I was up for it, and Caustic just fit. I kind of understood it, and that happens sometimes. There's sometimes you walk in there and you're like, God, I just can't get to the bottom of this. I don't understand. I can't find it. I can't find the right angle on it, and so I always tell people, just keep making bold choices, and you'll hit it. It'll come. But we hit this one pretty soon, and if it's good writing, it informs you, and I think the writing is just blistering on this game. It's so good.
So when they did approach you for it, did you get like a synopsis of what the character is supposed to be, and that's kind of how you developed the voice for the character?
Yeah, he had a different code name.
It
was called something like Gaskin or Garrett or something. Which is what they do. They always do that to disguise.
My total existence on Apex Legends has been a lie.
Yeah, exactly. No. I mean, just in sort of pre-development and development, that's what they everything was a code. The game had several different code names, and sometimes now they'll send me, they say, oh, they want you for a session on R12 or whatever, and you're like, R12? Oh, okay. I remember.
See, that's the code that you would know. I wouldn't know that.
Yeah, right. No one else would know that.
No.
And also, because marketing is key in the game industry. When you release stuff, how you time your releases, what information is out there, you've got to be very careful so that you get the maximum impact at launch as possible. That's true of every event, and you can see how the leaks kind of screw things up, which they happen. They happen out of Respawn, unfortunately, but they happen on Fortnite. They happen on everything else. It's very sad that people are that kind of petty and think that they're getting some sort of glory, but actually they're just defeating the game they love. They're ruining the marketing for the game they love, so they're kind of defeating themselves. So yes, I probably had an image of the character and a good kind of storyline that was kind of slightly vague. I mean, it's still the Alexander Knox dead scientist thing is kind of never confirmed, but lurking in the background, and lots of hints and all that kind of stuff. So I had this idea of a man who'd had to reinvent his life, and therefore a man who wasn't terribly comfortable with publicity or being a particularly public. So he was much more reserved, much clearer on his aims, much more filled with a sense of vengeance.
I can tell that
life.
Landing with other characters, the voice lines between the two, it's
it can get fairly.
He's definitely the furthest one out there as far as life.
Yeah, he's seen some shit. I think he's been places, and that all has to inform the voice. I think there's a lot of pain in Caustic's voice. I think there's a lot of hauntedness in his voice. I think there's a lot of sadness in the loss of his past. And I think those are all really interesting things to play. It's not all, I kind of like it because it's not all ebullient and fun and it's like Rust. He's just a miserable bugger most of the time. He's really unhappy. But Caustic, if there's been a sort of development, there's the sort of wit of Caustic has started coming out, I think, a bit more. And I think as he's kind of elevated in popularity and people have gotten more, there's some pretty wicked stuff that you can get him to say. And I've been really enjoying these recent sessions and with this event and stuff. There's some really great stuff in there. And it's great to do a session where you might not get the line out because you're laughing too much about how well it's written.
That's the thing between characters. Like, everybody is the same thing with Revenant. They all hate him, but he has a different relationship with Watson. And he has a different relationship with Crypto.
Right.
But everybody else, it's fine. It's just those three, the voice lines are completely different.
Yeah.
And I think, over time, like you said, like you kind of see, like, well, Caustic's is this genius, this scientific genius. But he recognizes too that, like Crypto and Watson in their own right, are the same way as him. He's just, I guess, like you said, out for vengeance when they're just about other
Yeah,
things.
and I think, and also, a good old villain doesn't think of themselves as a villain. They're just trying to get their needs met, So I think he sort of says, you're kind of the same as me because you're running around trying to kill everyone too. I'm just more honest about it than you are. That I'm just closer to that process of death than you are. And I may or may not have seen that process of death firsthand.
Yeah, kind of read some
so
stuff.
He's the closest. I think he's come closest to it. Yeah, but I mean, some of the other guys. I mean, I've known Roger Smith 15, 20 years. He's one of the funniest people on the planet, and so he's so perfect for that role. The inventiveness of that role. That's all Roger. They light the fire, and he, they light the paper, and he brings the fire. And he's just a brilliant man, and I think we all seek that level of kind of inventiveness and wit that really brings out those characters, and that's why people fall in love with them.
Oh, okay. Does Caustic emulate maybe a dark side you have in you or had in you when you were younger?
Well, you might say that. I couldn't possibly comment. No, I mean, I think we've all got we will have dark moments in our lives. I don't think you're a human being unless you do. I think what you learn with wisdom and a bit of age, as you can see from my graying beard, is that those things are what make you who you are. It sounds very cliched, but particularly if you're thinking about being an actor, characters don't usually have just great, wonderful, lovely, fluffy bunny experiences. What makes a character interesting is the terrible crap they've been through. And what makes a person interesting is the terrible crap they've been through and how they've come out and survived. I mean, that's again, huge cliche. Life ain't about getting knocked down. It's how you get up. And I've had big knockdowns in my life. I've had very big knockdowns in my life. I had a very tough childhood, a very violent childhood. And, that sort of stuff, I used to think, oh, God, it's because of that I'll never succeed. No, it's because of that you will succeed, because you have something to tap into that other people don't. And so, however bad your circumstances are, they are going to pay you back in the future. Lots of people have really shitty pasts and shitty, difficult lives. Divorce rates are through the roof. I don't know many people of my friends who don't come from broken families. That's very tough on kids. I went through a divorce myself, as a kid and as an adult. It's hard, very, very hard, and it sort of it leads to this sort of shifting ground. You never quite know where you stand, and then you find the one thing that you love, and that could be gaming, it could be streaming, it could be blogging, it could be anything, and you just get onto that. And then and that is your passion, and the reason you ignite that passion is because you have all of that other stuff to draw on. All of that experience makes you a more rounded and a smarter person. And so I learned to be grateful for my past, which helped me tremendously in starting to look forward into my future. And so, yeah, of course, there's dark stuff I draw on. Yes, I've had those nihilistic feelings. Yes, I've sat on the bed and contemplated terrible things. I've had some very dark times. The good thing is that, a balanced, well-rounded character isn't all that. There's other stuff to them too. And that's what I love about him is that, like I said, this wit is starting to come out much more. And his turn of phrase is really key. And I love beautiful language. I've been a Shakespeare fan since I was very young. And, writing in those rhythms. And these writers are very, very smart people. They understand that. And that's what triggers the emotional reaction in the audience. The audience isn't aware of it. They don't know. But the irony is that I get more of the praise than the writers do. And really, I'm just a cup. They put the water in the cup and I pour it out. I'm just a cup. And they really deserve the real credit because they just write it so brilliantly, And for an actor, that's a dream.
You do kind of feel like a connection to Caustic, whether it's based on what he's saying.
Yeah, I've never felt the desire to murder lots of people. Really,
no, but I mean, like, that'd be.
I like gas, but I like it for cooking. But no, I mean, I think you relate to trauma. He's had trauma. That stuff, that kind of, you have to find something that because, like I say, he could have been, much more kind of melodramatic and less mysterious and more aggressive, and that just wouldn't have fit the role. There's this guy has been hollowed out emotionally. He's lost everything. He's had to reinvent himself in every way. And he has this bitterness and killer instinct that is born of, I think, severe emotional trauma. Well, that's just a fascinating character. It's so much easier it's more difficult, but it's more intriguing to tackle that than something very simplistic. I did Bane. I've done Bane a few times, and Bane is interesting because Bane is Batman's probably biggest enemy, the only one who's ever really beaten him. And he's this giant hulking beast of a man, but he's very smart, very well educated. That's rare. Usually a lot of those villains are just big, whereas he was calculating, He had a mind that could say, Mr. Wayne, you are not going to get past me like this. And he had that perception. That's rare for a big hulking villain. And I should know because I've done a lot of them in my time. So again, it's the writing that makes it interesting. It makes it, it should be fallible. There should be weaknesses. That's interesting to play.
Yeah, I'm hoping with this event that's coming up that we kind of learn a little bit more, because every season is based around one character, pretty much.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I wish I could tell you.
So with him getting this, he's finally getting his own event. Do you kind of feel like it's comparable to maybe like your daughter having a birthday or something?
Again, I don't know until it comes out and see the result. I don't know what they planned for it. I don't know what style they've done it in. I know bits, elements. Let's see what happens. And then I'll celebrate it on my daughter's birthday, which is in fact tomorrow. So it comes out on my daughter's birthday. So we'll find out whether so this year, literally, I'll be celebrating it like my daughter's birthday.
Nice.
That's so funny that you said that. It's absolutely the gospel.
It comes out tomorrow too. So
nuts. I know, that's crazy.
And being, one of the original voice actors, like I guess you could say like season 0 or something.
Yeah.
Before there was an Octane season 1 and stuff. Do you kind of feel like, I guess that same kind of feeling, that you're kind of full circle in the game?
I'm just a better person because I'm one of the originals. I'm better than all of them because I was. I'm kidding.
Caustic would probably feel like that anyway.
Listen, I'm just glad to be sticking around, man. I'm glad to be sticking around. Characters have come and gone, and I'm really glad that there's that engagement for this guy. And long may they continue to be, because I love doing it. I love playing it. I love doing the sessions. I love what they do with the character. I love the inspiration that he inspires in terms of fan art alone. I mean, I guess that's some pretty crazy shit, but the clean fan art is really great. And it's just heartwarming just how this inspires some fabulously talented people to then involve their talents, and if that inspires them to go, oh, I could maybe get into voice acting, I could maybe try that, or I could design characters, or I could animate, or I could illustrate for a book, or create my own comic franchise, and that happens, and that's what it's all about, man. Pay it forward. That's what it's there for. If that is probably one of the most exciting parts about doing it. So therefore, as the other thing that changed my life massively is gratitude. And I found the more grateful I was, the more came to my life, and that continues to be the case. And so I'm just really, really thankful to still be there. I am still a better person because I'm one of the originals, and I just want to make that clear to the rest of the cast who won't be watching, maybe watching, might be watching, that I am clearly just a better person because of that. So yeah.
That's the one thing you always have over everybody else.
Yeah, I'm the OG. I mean, come on, the original guest daily. Come on.
So when you do get,
I hope everyone realizes I'm joking.
So when you do get somebody, like Ben is the one that reached out. Fuse is the one that reached out on my behalf. Do you kind of, is it close knit as soon as you find out? Like somebody else is being added to the game, do you guys kind of all reach out and say, hey, congrats, welcome to the team, stuff like that?
I mean, it's a small community. I knew a lot of the people before they even came on it, and so I've known Erica for a long, long time. I've known Roger for a long, long time. I've known Chris for a long time. Johnny was fairly recent. Ben, I didn't know at all, but he's Australian, and we get on like a house on fire immediately. I'm sure I'm going to take some shit from him because I play a lot of Australian characters. I did Kano and MK11. Which he should probably be doing and I shouldn't be doing. But there is the great thing is about how to explain this. When I grew up, there weren't really many people who were into acting or theatre or I was in a boarding school in England, an very old fashioned boarding school in England, and didn't really not a lot of actors come out of that sort of system. Now they do more. So when I arrived at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, I was suddenly surrounded by people who thought like I did, and I felt a sense of belonging. And I think when you enter into, and it's true in England in the theatre world, there's a kind of brotherhood there. We're all in the same pot. It's a difficult business to be in. It doesn't pay great. It's something you do for passion, and you gel with people who understand that and who get it. And I think that's huge. And I think with this, the voiceover community is very much like the theatre community. On camera, less so, because I think it's more competitive and people are more paranoid about how they look. And I think that creates a kind of frostiness sometimes. But certainly in the voiceover community, if I can't do a job, there are 5 people I'll recommend, and they would all recommend me. Fred Tatasciore is one of my biggest competitors and one of my best friends. And I'm whatever crumbs I can gather from under his table, I'm truly grateful for, because I think he's iconic. So when someone like Ben comes in, and he's welcomed with open arms, he receives that with open arms, and we're away. We're instantly friends. That's an instant bond. He's damn good at his job. You respect people who are really good at what they do, because you understand how hard it is to do it well. And so I think the way this family has grown has been nothing but gravy. It's been fantastic. And at first I was a bit shy about, being part of a community like that. It's all a bit, I don't know. But then I found out that despite my British cynicism, I really liked everyone. I might throw up. But everyone's really nice and they're all really good at what they do, and they all respect and love the project. And that is as rare as hen's teeth. You just don't find that, that's really fortunate. And I think it's only a big voiceover property like Apex that can achieve that, really. These are long-term friends, and they will always be long-term friends.
Yeah, you guys are always going to be linked to this one huge project.
Yeah. But and we're going to be good friends.
It continues to grow as well. So
yeah, if Branscombe holds true to having us out to Maui, we'll be really good friends. he lives in Maui, and he keeps saying, "I've got a cottage for you. Come on, stay in Maui." We're all itching to go because we haven't been able to go anywhere.
Nope.
So yeah, I mean, it's fairly special and unique for projects. There are other projects that have that feel, but nothing quite like this. Nothing quite like this. I haven't experienced anything like this.
So do you remember the last time they asked you to do a new voice line? With maybe it was in the last 3 months or so. Oh
yeah, tons. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing sessions once every 6 weeks, so there's constant updates, constant stuff happening.
And they could just be used whenever they feel like it.
Depends. Right? They may have a single campaign in mind. They may have lore that they're trying to fill out or build, or the relationship between me and Watson that's always been a bit odd. There's a lot of that stuff with the Miss Paquette. And I think some of it is very self-evident. Some of it I don't really know, and they're not going to tell me because they're still putting the ideas together.
I'm sure if you viewed the trailer for this new event, that you'd see I
remember
doing that one.
Oh yeah, no, you remember doing them.
Yeah.
You just don't at the time. You don't necessarily know what they're going to do with those. You don't know where it's
when the
go.
time frame is going to be. You might have recorded something last year, but they don't use it until next season.
Exactly.
Or something, but you're like,
and then I'll go in and suddenly, it's a trailer that involves a little bit of Blisk, and you're like, oh God, I'm dragging him out of the closet again and dusting him off.
Well, I guess the two games are related. as far as
Sure.
I know, or
Yeah,
in some way or something.
Blisk effectively started Apex Legends.
Yeah, so
You know, so it's a kind of it's a graduation from Titanfall 2, I think.
do you have a favorite voice line that you have?
There are so many.
His?
There are
I
so
have
many.
one. I only have
Oh,
one.
you have one?
Yeah.
Go on. What is it? I'll do it for you.
It's this is for posterity's sake. So be honest. How do you feel? that one only came out last season, but for some reason I'm
This is
literally
for
torturing somebody
this is
while I'm
for
playing him.
this is for posterity's sake. So go on, be honest. How do you feel?
It's just it ties in really well with the way that the game is played with him.
Yeah.
You know,
The one that people love is the
death is a paradoxical.
the more I live life, the something I am about approaching my death. The faster I approach, I feel most alive when quickly approaching my death.
Oh yeah, he says that off jump, which is
great.
Yeah, hilarious.
But I mean, there's just a sort of succinctness to stuff like science is unapologetic, as am I.
Yeah,
stuff that is just really terse. And there's one about, I'm going to look for it because there's a great one about, this one's great. Death stalks the ignorant. Intelligence will guide us to survival, which is brilliant. And I think quite pertinent for now because people have been very silly and that's why they've caught the COVID and they're not being as careful as they might. But the science says they should. So listen to the science. This isn't about
I'm sure
freedom.
If you threw a gas trap in front of their door, they wouldn't even bother coming outside anyway.
If it's about freedom, it's about your freedom to live and other people's freedom to live. So just put your damn mask on. It's okay. So there's so many lines I enjoy. There's so many great ones, and they can be super short ones. Anything that talks about insects is always fun.
Yeah, I always like I kind of get mad when he doesn't get something new because he gets a voice line every season. But if he gets like a new emote, I'm like, oh my god! But it's all the way at the end of the battle pass, so you really have to take the time. But when you get it, it's like it's so satisfying.
It's I mean, it's it's a lot. It's an expensive process to record lines and write and get them all in the process. So I guess they have to measure them out, and you don't want to overkill it too soon. You still want to keep people interested. So I guess that's partly their motivation for doing that.
With this whole COVID thing, before COVID happened, did you go somewhere to record? Did they bring you somewhere?
Yeah,
we recorded. Always been doing it from home.
No, we recorded at Warner Brothers Studios, which is about 15 minutes from where I live. So it's not that much of a difference. I mean, I think we've all had to learn. We did the biggest update on World of Warcraft I've ever worked on last year for Shadowlands, and it was all recorded from people's homes, and I was directed from people's homes. Now that has problems in the post because most, if a game's always recorded in the same studio, it always sounds the same. So there's a lot more to do in editing to make it sound like it's all recorded in the same place, because particularly with a company like Blizzard, who are really, really keen on the quality of sound. So it's changed things, and you sort of miss the exchange, but they're on Zoom. We just don't get to hug each other, and I'm kind of really close friends with Tom Cossiello and Mo and Manny and all that team. They're a good bunch of people, and it's always a pleasure to see them, and it's sad that we haven't been able to. I think you probably respond slightly better when it's live in the room like that, and you have a better time doing it. But it's just different.
Okay, let's see what else. What do you like most about voicing Caustic, or Caustic as a whole, the character?
I'm a pretty easygoing, happy fellow most of my time. So I think it's nice to just get a bit, it's actually kind of healthy to get a bit dark sometimes. It's his darkness, his nihilism, the fact that he's fairly economic with his words, that just makes them juicier. It's like a kind of watery soup or a really thick, rich soup. And he just speaks in really thick, rich soup. And so I think being able to access the dark side of the Force a bit is probably one of the greatest pleasures.
Yeah, you've dabbed in that before, so
Yeah, being licensed to be a bit of a bastard. I mean, and get paid for it. I mean, that's amazing. It's fantastic. My lucky boy.
Let's see.
Are we getting questions from people?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure.
Hello, people. What's up, people?
Tell him, how does he do the voice?
How do I do the voice of Caustic?
Yeah, like how did, I guess maybe he's asking like how did you come up with it, or
yeah, so it's all you everything is informed by character, and so people think you do a voice, and I think if you go about it that way, you're making a mistake, because anyone can do a goofy voice. It just doesn't mean anything, I think his hollowness, his we've talked a bit about it, but his inability to reach out emotionally, to have wholesome emotional relationships, means that he's not a big speaker. So I knew it had to be kind of quiet. I knew that he had probably some damage in his lungs from working with noxious gases. A man who's kind of held together with some way, who's survived some big trauma so it just felt that the power with him was not in power, it was in intimacy. And so therefore you bring the volume back and you make it a bit more personal. And then, he's very well educated. So I had to find an accent that was an educated American accent. Mm. And then if you just drop it down in here, and it just became like his voice is damaged from the gas. And so, and also that he has this feeling that he has to teach you something. He talks in these maxims, be careful, insect. There was a cleanliness to the way, a clinicism, a scientist's pronunciation. And then they had kind of slight lung damage to the voice. And that's the stuff. So I'm building the voice based on the characteristics that I'm told by the writers and that I read in the lines. And bit by bit, you kind of stitch it together. Usually pretty quickly. You have to do it in about 5 minutes at the beginning of the session, the first session that you do. Okay. And that's going to be the voice that you dictate. That dictates the way you're going to speak for the rest of the game. And in this case, for some 5 years, whatever, how long it's going to be.
So amazing. Did you kind of do like some test voices, and they're like, oh, that's the one we're looking for? We walked in. I mean, I auditioned pretty much with something fairly close to that, I think. And then we walked in with the, and they knew me. They'd known me from Blisk. And we knew we had to stay away from Blisk, as a bastard and pretty hard to do, eh? So we had to do a completely different voice to that. And I think we literally spent like 5 or 10 minutes just kind of going, what, do you mean like this, like this, tweak, that's it, bang, go, let's go, let's record it. It's very little time to think about it. It's kind of crazy. You just kind of, I mean, there's been games that I've been cast in where I've turned up for the first session. I don't know what game it is. I don't know what character I'm playing. And I may have to play that character for several years afterwards. So you've got to, you've got to be able to make those decisions pretty quickly, and to be able to really listen to direction and listen to the company and find out what they're looking for from the character. And you kind of bring your past experience and your past, ideals and hopefully the instincts that you've built up over the years, and you try and match that with what they're looking for. I mean, they've got a problem. A character for them is a problem. The actor is the solution. And so when you're auditioning, you've got to think of being the solution to their problem. So you have to be very open and very willing to get away from yourself, and to really listen to who the character is and play the character. And that if you get the character right, the voice it just seems to start, getting in there and starting to feel like that. That is all based on the information they gave me. Do you ever sometimes maybe you get some voice lines mixed up or some accents mixed up?
All the time, dude. Yeah, of course. And, we have a lot of fun. I'll add stuff to lines that is absolutely filthy, could never be used, but we have a giggle. But yeah, no, of course you make mistakes. And, I think every voice actor, I'll tell you, there's usually one line a session where it's not coming out and it won't come out right. And, there's one day it'll be inevitable. For some reason, you can't say that word, and of course, he says it a lot. So yeah, of course, that stuff happens, and nobody's perfect. We it takes work. What you don't see is all the crap shit that gets edited out after. Luckily, you don't get to see what's on the cutting room floor.
And then he wants to know, did you see the season 8 trailer for Apex?
Well, the one that's just come out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the little pat on the back from
dude, it's hilarious. Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's very Fuse, and it's exactly the right character for him to do it to. Because Caustic's just like, what did you just do?
Yeah. Kind of looked like, oh, really?
How dare you?
Okay. Me, of all people, you're going to try that with.
Yeah, fun. It was just fun.
But
I mean, that's a very kind of, that's just, like, I regard that as an Australian sign of friendship.
You kind of would think the way Bloodhound reacted is the way Caustic would have reacted.
I think it was a brilliant touch. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's brilliant. Which is why I love this team. They come up with really interesting ideas all the time. It's fascinating. Ashley Reed and, all these amazing writers, Manny and Tom, they're all fantastic. It's a talented bunch of people.
With this event, and I'll just give you some of the patch notes, they are kind of nerfing him, dummying him down a bit. Maybe he was too powerful before, but his gas isn't going to be as effective. How does that
I see the complaints. I see the complaints
with you. And
the complaints is like, God, it's just so hard playing against Caustic, man. There's gas traps. I'm like, well, don't walk into the room. He's going to be there. He's going to, anyone who knows how to play him, he's going to try and trap you. So no, it doesn't bother me at all. How the game plays, how they respond to fans and what they want and what they're looking for, and how they tweak stuff. That's above my pay grade. Mm-hmm. And so I let them handle that however they want. I certainly don't take offense or worry about that. I think for the nature of the event, they probably needed stuff that was simple and direct, and then a little less cerebral. And I think that's if they did an event around him, I can't be ungrateful. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, if you get a chance to watch the trailer, it's really something. It's really intricate. I mean, it's about time, at least for me, when I play him all the time, 95% of the time, I'm like, cool. Finally, oh my God. Like,
they'll get around to all of us eventually.
Yeah.
Like I said, you just hang in there and keep going, and suddenly something.
Well, it's like when they pass you up and they kind of do like somebody else's takeover when maybe it came after you or something. Or it's like, well, don't you like maybe want to get all the originals out of the way first and then focus on, But I mean, the game wants what it wants, but I'm just, like, it's about time for me.
Well, you and me both, man. I'm glad. Unfortunately, I have zero control over any of that.
The person thought maybe Caustic would hit him with the hammer since he's a sociopathic killer.
Yeah, why not?
Just a little bump on the back.
The hammer does seem to have become a bit more prevalent.
Anyways, I think I got everything I needed to get. I don't want to take up too much more of your time.
Wonderful, because I got to get out of here.
Man. Yeah, again, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. Sharing, the screen with you or whatever you want to call it. You being my favorite legend in the game.
Oh, bless you, mate.
So it's like a dream come true. Really, it's helping me out a lot.
Well, I hope you had fun, and I certainly did. And
I learned a lot.
Good.
It's just even just doing this in general it's an honor, really. I mean,
well, Ben's a good PR agent. Get him to put in a word for some of the others. You get some of the other guys.
Lucky enough to know him on the side. So
Ben's great.
Probably wouldn't be possible, so I'll send my regards for sure. But,
absolutely, and tell him thank you from me too. Have a good time.
Have a good rest of your day. I'll
thank you, brother.
Keep up with you on Twitter and stuff
everybody.
like that. And
keep playing.
Stay gassy.
Stay gassy.
Very
nice.
Thanks, JB.
All right, take it easy, bro. Cheers.
All right, guys. That was insane. I can't believe what just happened. That was cool. I am gonna hop online though in a minute. I'll be streaming Apex again, so I wanted to get this away. Thanks, guys, for stopping by. Thanks for your questions. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Big Day Devo out.